Hello and welcome to the Sugar Coated Marketing Podcast, where you get sweet advice on how to improve your marketing and grow your business. I am David Paris, your host, and in this podcast series, I interview top experts who give advice on the subjects of marketing, copywriting, advertising, and we even throw in a hint of self-development. Today we have an awesome interview lined up with Brian McKenzie, who is a partner at My Passion Media, which is one of Canada's leading media companies with brands that include Explore Magazine and Canadian Traveler. My Passion Media's network of sites attracts millions of travel and outdoor enthusiasts per month. Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm good, David. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. For those that don't know, where are you based out of?
I'm out in British Columbia, Canada, kind of in the Metro Vancouver area.
Awesome. So I mean, you've got a lot of background expertise with doing different launches and list building. I think that those are probably the two most valuable things that you have to add for the listeners, and in particular, like how to launch a new product if you have a list, and then maybe also how to launch a new product if you don't have a list. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Or, well, let's start with if someone hasn't built a list yet, what are some things that they can do to get one going? Or if someone has a smaller list, how can they build it bigger?
So for me, the one tool that I kind of consistently go back to, and I think a lot of internet marketers tend to do the same, is setting up a lead magnet, something related to your vertical, preferably that solves a problem or is gonna kind of highly sought after information that you can kind of summarize into a couple of pages. Put together something simple, slap it in a PDF, and put together a squeeze page, whether it's through lead pages or ClickFunnels. I personally use lead pages quite a bit because they have some pretty well-tested landing pages that you don't have to do a lot of the legwork. You can simply go in there, drop in the little image of your PDF, put some language on the page that ties to your lead magnet, and basically launch from there. So I mean, once you've got that landing page, there's so many options. You can drive traffic organically from your website, through social media channels, or my personal favorite way to drive traffic is using Facebook ads.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think Facebook ads are probably one of the most versatile tools that are available to marketers today. It's because I mean, you can create such highly targeted ads that you can really drive down your cost per lead and increase your ROI.
For sure, and one of the coolest things about Facebook advertising, outside of obviously having access to all those demographics and specific targeting options, is the ability to build lookalike audiences. So if at first you're not 100%, you don't have your targeting 100% kind of dialed in, what's nice is, even so, at first you're paying quite a bit per lead. I'm not going to make up arbitrary numbers on what's quite a bit, but if you're paying more than you probably think you should be paying, once you've generated a nice pool of leads, you can take that lead set, plug it into Facebook, either through their emails or through specific page targeting, and build a lookalike audience off that list, and really start to dial in your targeting without actually having to fiddle too much with the actual targeting interests and whatnot. So as you go and you build a larger subset of leads, your leads should hypothetically get cheaper once you start using lookalike audiences.
Yeah, that's a really powerful tool. So I mean, is your main business that you work with right now the media company or the magazines, or what's your main setup right now? Like, what do you spend most of your time on?
Well, there's a couple different things. Like, obviously, Explore Magazine is pretty large. I've been doing a lot of work on our recent Live the Adventure Club Gearbox subscription. Outside of that, we're also doing some integrations with another media company called Canada Wide. We're working with to expand their digital presence and implement some new initiatives over there. But those are kind of like I would say those are kind of the two big focuses for me right now. I'm working on some lead gen funnels in the what's it called, the Jeff Walker PLF style, combining a little bit of Ryan Levesque's Ask for some lead gen for some clients, but kind of all over the place, but really still focused on the media space, I would say.
Yeah. So how did you end up getting involved with Explore magazine? Because it's a physical magazine, right? It's physical and an online subscription.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a physical magazine. It's been around since 1981. Spring 1981, I believe, was the first year. This is actually our 35th year anniversary. But kind of a long story. But the Cliff Notes guy, my business partner Kevin Hinton and myself, we had a platform called InfoBarrel, and we grew it pretty large. It was basically a revenue sharing content platform, kind of like Squiddy, which no longer exists. It was by Seth Godin, or I can't remember the other one. Hubspace's eHow. There was a bunch of basically revenue sharing sites about 8 years ago, and we were one of the larger ones, and we had about 5 million visitors per month. And long story short, we wind up helping out with another magazine's launch, which led to us doing some advertising for Explorer, helping them with their online advertising, which somehow led to this gigantic overarching merger. And that was, I guess, almost 3 years ago. I can't even remember. Anyways, long story short, we at one point we had four physical print magazines. We sold one of them off, BC Magazine, beautiful British Columbia, back in May of this year. And yeah, it's been an interesting ride.
For sure. Building a company like InfoBarrel, you guys built that from scratch and got to 5 million visitors. Did you say monthly or daily?
No, that was monthly. I think, there's been times where we had way more than that. Like I've had one article do 50 million visitors in a month, but kind of at its peak, organically was around 5 million a month.
So I think probably the people listening in are wondering, how do you get 5 million visitors in a month? Is that something that can still be done today, or is it because of your platform, or how do you get a number that big?
Well, I mean, it's a combination of a lot of different things, right? But like back then, it was prior to a lot of the quality rules within Google being kind of enforced, but a lot of high quality content that is search engine optimized essentially, and solid social media presence. But today, I don't want to say it's not possible today. It's definitely possible today, but you requires a fair amount of work. And I mean, there's obviously certain verticals that are gonna get that type of traffic with less work, like celebrity related stuff, or I don't know, recipes, or something that's not like, doesn't have a huge back end sale opportunity. They tend to, and stuff that's kind of consumed kind of on the fly, more passively, like like something about Kim Kardashian pops up on the right side of your newsfeed as whatever's popular on Facebook, and 10 million people probably go and look at it just because everybody's obsessed with pop culture, right? But
right.
With that said, a million visitors a month, that's not really that difficult. It depends what your vertical is, right? Like most of the platforms or the magazines that we run or help run do in the range of 1 million page views a month.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of different things that go into it, and it depends really what your goal is on whether that is even something that you want, right? Like if if you want to be a media company or a news-based company that's dependent on advertising, um, you could release more news-based content or things that are trendier that aren't evergreen, or you could create more quality evergreen resources that kind of push users towards a funnel, or to some sort of end goal. And that's kind of more the way that I'm leaning these days, is trying to create content um, that is kind of an entry point to a bigger picture, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, because I mean, to clarify, I think what you're talking about is if you're creating a bunch of generic news that's like pop culture news that you know maybe maybe only lasts a week or something like that, like so something that happened to a celebrity, then you're not going to be able to turn a sustainable profit off of it, and then you're also probably you may not even be able to turn a profit off of it at all just because it's kind of I'll call it junk news, stuff that's just noise that isn't really in an evergreen enthusiast type market where like when you're doing something with your magazine like for Explore, um, people keep coming back to the magazine because it's something that they do and it's part of their life and it's part of how they live. Like that's more what you mean, right?
Yeah, and I mean it's more of a market per se. Like I mean, hiking and outdoor adventure isn't the biggest market in the world, like compared to say something like a health topic or something like that. But there are consumables like boots and jackets and pants and a million other different things, right? Where like you go into celebrity gossip, and what is there? There's like um, uh, some different celebrity magazines. I don't know. There's not too many other things to sell people, because it's so the opposite of niche down, right? Like it's the widest segment ever. You're basically trying to talk to the whole entire world. You have no idea what any one of these individuals does or thinks, or like there's just no common ground to kind of relate and take them to that next level in the relationship. Like if you're to flip back over to Explore, and I had an article, let's just make a hypothetical, like 25 best hikes in British Columbia. I know that I can go and then offer that particular individual a lead magnet to Canada's best hikes or North America's best hikes, or um, you know 10, 10 hiking mishaps that could ruin your outdoor adventures forever. Like there's so many different paths that I can push them down towards starting to build a relationship with them. And yeah, that's kind of rambling a bit here, but just a bit of an example for you.
Yeah, no, I definitely I can resonate with that because it's kind of like some of the stuff I'm doing in the guitar market where um, say you take guitar pickups for example. Pickups are the electronic magnet component that sits inside the guitar, and for different genres of music, there's different pickups that you use, and I mean people will sometimes even get into like a fist fight over which one is the best, and it's something that's just purely subjective. It's either you like it and you play that style of music, or you don't. There's not really a right or wrong or a good and bad. I mean, once you get into the higher quality ones, it's just you either like it or you don't like it. So I think that with something like hiking, you can maybe do the same thing with boots or jackets or the people like the different products in that niche for a specific reason because of what they do with it. So like if someone's hiking in a colder area, then you might be needing a jacket or waterproof boots because of the snow. Whereas like if it's somewhere near like a desert area, the equipment's totally different.
For sure, and those are like all opportunities to I don't want to sound like I only want to sell to our users or anything like that either. But those are all revenue opportunities at the end of the day when there are those different verticals and those different experiences within a niche that you can kind of niche down and really offer more specific value tied to an offer or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, speaking of that, I know that one of the newer products that you guys had launched for the magazine was a subscription box. Um, and I've seen quite a few of them pop up recently. There's one in the guitar niche called Gear Supply, and then there's another one that's kind of like in the enthusiast comic book niche called Loot Crate. But I'm just curious, where'd you get the idea to do a type of gear box, and was it successful, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, so like we've talked about over here, we've talked about the gear box or the gear subscription box thing for a while. It's been like you said, there's a number of them, and I feel like it's already kind of evolving a little bit. But honestly, we probably had a couple conversations over beers or lunch, and we said that was something that we wanted to launch. And I had some free time one day, and I decided, what the heck, let's give it a shot. So one of the things uh, that I like to do, instead of completely building something out or creating a product before I sell it, is do a seed launch and see if the market or my list specifically is interested in that product. So basically, one day I buckled down, figured out a couple pieces of software that would tie it together for us, and we launched it to the list. We were just shooting for about 25 purchases on the first send, and we nailed it. But I think one of the reasons why, like, we have over 200 now, and it's been about 3 months since we launched. So that's about, if they all stay on for a year, that's about $80,000 in revenue. But one of the reasons why, like, I feel like this was successful for us, because there's a couple other gearboxes out there, is we kind of evolved the gear subscription, the subscription model a little bit, in that I kind of leaned heavily on the intangible value that the user was going to get. So outside of just getting 3 to 6 awesome pieces of tested gear, they're also going to get this really cool challenge. And with that challenge, it's basically kind of like an outdoor adventure scavenger hunt, where they go around and they do these different tasks that we assign them that kind of involve the gear that's in the box. And from there, they come to our private Facebook group that they get access to when they're a club member. And they can come and they start their own thread, and they post their pictures. They can interact with other individuals in the club. And, not only do they get the motivation that they need to get out there and make this life-changing adventure adjustment for themselves, but they also get the opportunity to potentially win some decent prizes. So there's a few different levels of value that we're providing, and some other things that we've got planned for the next few weeks, or not the next few weeks, moving forward, are interviews, like Ask Me Anything style, like Facebook Lives or webinars with exciting outdoor adventure kind of like experts and like famous outdoor adventure people and stuff like that. So one of the, I don't want to say it's common knowledge, but you see a lot of gurus talk about whatever you're selling, like, provide at least double the value of whatever it is that the person's paying. And I think that with our particular subscription box, people are actually buying into the lifestyle change of being part of the club, as opposed to just the gear. The gear is like the icing on the cake. So
Absolutely. I mean, from what you've said there, I mean, that's a product that could quite literally change someone's life. Like, through that group, they're going to meet people that they may have never otherwise met. Um, just from the standpoint of experiences, um, when you were talking about that, I had thought about some stuff that I had done younger when I would gone to a summer camp, and those are lifetime memories for me, like going on a hike with some of the counselors, and then doing some stuff like that with my father, and just to create that type of bond and relationship. It's I think you're definitely right. The gear is secondary, and it's kind of the icing on the cake for the group, because that sounds like something that could actually quite literally change people's lives in a pretty positive way.
Yeah, and it's there's even some angles that I learned about afterwards, after we released it, and a few people got their hands on it that I never even thought about. Like, I had this lady who had signed up after the cutoff date, and she's like, "Is there any way we could get one of these boxes for Christmas?" And I had a couple left, so I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I'll package it up and I'll get it out to you or whatever." And she's like, "Thank you so much. You have no idea how excited my 11-year-old is to go out and do the challenge with his dad." Like, and I was like, "Shit, that is spectacular." Like, like, I got like warm and fuzzies when she said this to me, because I was like, that was kind of like, that particular situation wasn't my intention, but that is a huge, huge, like emotion that, like, that's a testimonial in itself. Like, I don't know, like, for me, that was a moment that I was like, my son's only 2, so I was like, oh man, that'd be awesome if I could do that with my son, but I would just basically be carrying him everywhere. But I could totally picture myself, when he's older, or even with, like you said, with my dad. Like, I was just like, wow, that's an angle like that. You could create a whole sales letter on that topic and push it to parents.
Yeah, and not only that, but like when you create that type of bonding experience that is going to become like a lifelong memory for the father and child, um, you're never going to lose that customer.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point.
And the cool thing about that is it wasn't something you tried to create. It just kind of happened generically because you were trying to provide value. And I think that that's how a lot of the best launches go in particular niches. Is the plan in general was really thought out, but then once you launch it to your list, you find things from the list and from the people that are life changing things that you didn't necessarily plan them to be in the beginning, but that's what creates the bond with you and your clients, and that's what creates a really powerful business.
100% agree. Yeah, and like, it's kind of funny because I've applied Ryan Levesque's deep dive survey technique from Ask to this list, and there was a couple people that talked about their kids, but like, I didn't get a response that was that emotionally charged from that entire survey, and I'm sure that the people that did give me those responses would probably, if they were hyper respondents, they would probably have had a very similar answer.
It's funny that you say that because with stuff like that, I think it's sometimes the parents don't even realize it. Like they need to see the kid get excited about it. Like it wouldn't be something that's on the top of their mind, because I mean, even like you said, you didn't even think of it until they said something. And I think it's kind of one of those things that happens generically, and you kind of figure out as you go along with your launch.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's cool, like you said, when you're providing the right value, there's like these little rewards that you, outside of like the financial gain of being successful, that you never even thought about. Like when you're changing somebody's life, or you're like providing that much value that like this kid's so excited to go out with his dad. Like, I don't know, that's just priceless. And I don't know, I get like excited just sitting here talking about that one particular little testimonial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Ryan, so what advice would you give someone that's maybe doing a new launch or launching a new gearbox? What advice would you give them to get up and running with that as soon as possible?
One thing in particular you mentioned to me that you thought was kind of a superpower you had.
was just being able to dive in head first and look later. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean that's one of kind of like my guiding principles is done is better than perfect. And for people who haven't read 80/20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall, I 100% recommend jumping in and reading that. But I'm also very iterative. Like what I'll do is I basically have this what's it called? I kind of have this framework for like minimum viable funnel. So I can quickly hammer out a really basic sales or a really basic funnel. But if somebody's trying to launch something or they want to start selling something, like if you've got a list, do a test email, see what type of response there is to it, because there's absolutely no point in spending 3 months, 6 months, a year, however long it takes to get a business put together, and you go and do a test launch and nobody cares. I mean, there's so many different things that could be causing nobody to care, whether it's your copy being terrible or your product just being shit. But like it's so easy. Like, you don't even need to have a list. You could go and take your product or your service or whatever it is, build a really basic minimum viable funnel with like a squeeze page or a landing page, whatever you want to call it, a lead magnet or like a quiz, and see if like spend $500 or spend $300 or spend $200, whatever it is that you have on Facebook ads, driving people through your funnel, and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then maybe you shouldn't build it, because people, something's not right. Where the opposite is, you go and you spend all this time building this, and then when you go and launch, you spend a year or however long you spend it, all this time and money building whatever it is that you want to build, and you have no market validation that this is going to fly. So for me, what I would recommend to anybody is, if you have a list and you think you want to sell something, whether it's a course or whether it's a box or whether it's a physical product, do a pre-launch or a seed launch. Just basically tell your audience what it is. Like tell them your story. Hey, this is Ryan. I was at the doctor the other day and at the specialist, and I told him I don't have time to get exercise anymore. And they told me that if I don't start getting more cardio, I'm going to have lung problems over time. So I came home, I sat down, and I started making myself challenges. And I started including my friends in the challenges to have accountability. And next thing you know, we were going out and we were doing these awesome challenges. And we thought, what the hell, what better way than to offer it to you in my list? And, on top of that, I'm also going to give you some cool stuff that goes with it. I'm going to give you some gear that we reviewed that we really love. If you want to check it out, it's going to come out in a few months. You can check it out at xyz.com. Sign up. If I get enough people, we're gonna launch. That's really sloppy and just off the top of my head. But you can put together whatever story you want about why you're gonna launch, and just tell the customer what it is, or sorry, the user what it is, and figure out what the minimum number of sales that you need to actually go out and produce whatever it is you're trying to sell. And if they buy it and you get that number, create it. If they don't, refund their money. And the nice thing is if they do buy it and you haven't created that product yet, you just provided the cash flow you need to actually get it done. So, you're solving all these problems without ever going and taking too much risk.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because personally, getting started with the internet marketing stuff in general, I tried to create a product that no one wanted in the guitar niche, and I kept trying to find different ways to sell it, like who would buy this product. And then ultimately, after probably about 6 months, we kind of gave up on it. And then once we switched gears to trying to provide value, and actually doing some specific surveying and asking our list what they wanted, we were able to create some really great stuff. And I think a lot of people get too caught up in trying to create this complex thing that they don't really understand. And then, after a year, they still haven't launched because they're still trying to create this product. And, maybe they think it's awesome, but the market doesn't want it, or they have the wrong messaging, and that could easily be tested before you waste an entire year of time. And I mean, I shouldn't say waste, because and that was a learning experience that I had to go through to get to the next level. But you could, if anyone listening is creating a product, you don't have to do all that. You can take learn from my mistake and skip that step and just do a quick test launch, like Ryan said.
Yeah, and I mean, like everybody, like I've done a million of these lessons myself too, so I make it sound like I just blink my eyes and everything flies, right? But the truth is that you don't have to go through jump through all these hoops to kind of get to a point where you can do a test or a seed launch or test launch or pre-launch or whatever word you want to use to describe it. But it's pretty simple. Like, you don't even need a funnel, really. You can just have a squeeze page, an email capture, obviously, and on the thank you page, you can offer them kind of like a $10 or $29 or whatever the price point that is realistic. Hit them with the offer on the back end of the sign up. And a lot of the times, if the offer is fitting to the traffic, for me, I've been able to convert traffic from cold traffic to sales in exactly what I just told you, profitably on more than one occasion. And I'm not like some special butterfly. It's basic stuff.
Absolutely. And I think it's a crucial part of doing market research too, especially if you're launching something new, because it's a lot of times it's hard to discern what will work and what will not work without research and testing. The good thing is, especially with Facebook ads, you've got highly targeted testing that's fairly inexpensive, and it's a tool that anyone can use.
For sure. And like, one other thing too, I don't think there's anybody out there that goes and does a launch. I mean, I'm sure there might be a couple, but who don't get that like anxiety and that like those like self-limiting doubts before they push it out that this might not fly, or like, at least not where I am. Every single time I send out a promotion or do some sort of like seed launch or something, until the first sale rolls in, I'm like, I don't know. I've got walking on pins and needles. I've got like a almost like a kind of like excited anxiety, like, and then once the first one rolls in, then I kind of start to get a little more relieved, and then it's just pure excitement moving forward, So I just like to point that out, that no matter where you are in this journey, you're always gonna be nervous when you go to launch. There's never a surefire bet.
I'm really glad that you pointed that out too, because I think a lot of people struggle with that kind of fear or launch anxiety, and the fact that you still go through it. I think for some people may give them a little bit of relief, because that seeing your experience and expertise with this, still going through the launch anxiety, just know it's a normal part of your launch. And I mean, you could say the same with like public speaking or performing. And it's just one of those things, is be as prepared as you can possibly be and do a test launch, and you'll get the results back. And if it doesn't work out how you wanted it to, go back to the drawing board and try again.
As Darren Hardy would say, plan, do, review, and improve. And that's the way to be successful with this.
Totally agree with you there.
Ryan, it was absolutely fantastic to have you on the show here. If anyone wants to reach out to you or ask you any questions, is there a way they could get a hold of you, or maybe if they're looking to have some stuff done with your media company, or
yeah, the best way to probably connect would be through my Facebook page. You can go to facebook.com/the Rye, RYE, Mackenzie, McKenzie, and you can send me a message there, and I'm always up for having a conversation.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.